Rydo, and we are back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is April 30th. We're on our Asian account. Tragic Masters on the chat saying smiley face. I will be the last with you. Final game, final battle until the end of time. Yep, I was talking about how the only way I think I'll ever make legendary is if I was the last person on Hearthstone playing. But right now, I've got to work around this burnout. Like, we spent nearly an hour. We could not get a freaking single victory for a mage. We have the overlap for a mage, and we've only been playing mage, and we've somehow played 10 out of the 12 beast. We need to get at least 2 of these things done, which means we still need to play ranked mage. And the reason we need to play ranked mage is because if we don't get 5 ranked victories at some point this month, we won't even get a card back. Let alone, I'd very much like to not end at rank 25, since this month it ended me at rank 22. So yeah, not having a fun time with Hearthstone. What else is new? The main issue is their change of the rank system. I think was totally wrong. Totally wrong. If this was the reason Ben Brode was left, I think he was fired for a different reason. And my tinfoil hat thought is that he was told to fire a significant amount of the team on Hearthstone, and he said no, and then they fired him. And I imagine we will see more fallout like that later, in the next few months. But if he was fired or quit because they told him to change rank, I would kind of be happy about that, because rank, I know they tried this new change, it didn't work. They need to change it the other direction. PC Gamer has an article that there's a lawsuit that alleges Samsung, Micron, Hynix, and Hynix, Hynix, never heard of that company, all colluded to keep the dynamic RAM prices up. When you hear it spoken out loud as an open secret, everybody knows that's the case. It's hard to really not just buy into that thought and assume that it's true. People for at least a year and a half have been talking about how they think that the main producers of dynamic RAM have been colluding to keep the prices higher. There was a few tsunami and weather-related events that did at points over the past couple of years affect the prices, but the prices are going up and up, and the speeds is not. We've been at DDR, I think 4 for a very long time, and longer than we should have been, and people are not happy about that. So it's really hard to be unbiased here and say maybe Samsung, maybe Micron, maybe Hynix never talked to each other and didn't do that. Samsung is a company in Korea that owns like 80 to 90% of all jobs in Korea. They run Samsung convenience stores. It's a huge company that needs to be broken up. They have been found guilty of bribing the president of South Korea. So it is a giant company. It is a sleazy company. I mean, you can't really argue with that. So it's totally believable. Yeah, see, the subtitle here on this PC Gamer article is the class action lawsuit calls it a classic antitrust price fixing scheme. There's really nothing to read here. Let's see, there's a form you can fill out if you have purchased a DRAM product with the aforementioned dates. Samsung did plead guilty to price fixing charges in 2005 that were brought by the U.S. Department of Justice. So, like, they know they've been doing it and they've been getting away with it, and I imagine they made more profit by getting around it. But right now this is a lawsuit, not a settlement, and frankly, any kind of settlements or lawsuits I've ever filled out forms and done anything with have never led to anything. I don't know why I've had such horrible experience with like rebates, lawsuits, class action suits, things like that. It probably, if I was to guess, there's just such little recourse and so much shenanigans. You can just kind of not do anything that you promised to do ever in the United States. I know the United States feels like it's the land of law and order, but we're a lot closer to something like China, where you can just, forge a document. Here's a fake certification. Here's some knockoff products. You can kind of do whatever you want. You only have to look at, say, our telephone companies, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint. I mean, they kind of just charge you what you want and rip you off and give you terrible service, and there's no recourse. The class action suit is supposed to be the recourse there, but there's a lot of neo-religious propaganda and people who don't believe in class action suits and feel like they're evil, which is just PR spin by big corporations and people acting against their own interest. And there's the U.S. Department of Justice, I suppose, is just not good at, frankly, protecting the people as much as just prosecuting people. Like, particularly when it comes to corporate crime. Like, the DOJ seems to be much more focused on a war on drugs than it is like banking fraud, antitrust, anything like that. BC Gamer has a article, Borderlands 3, Everything We Know. You can probably stop that right there and say, everything we know, ... nothing. Because, let's be honest, they don't know anything. This is a extremely premature article that is only here to be clickbait and catch people's attention. They're trying to seed, is what it's called. They're trying to plant this article so it comes up in search engine searches when E3 happens, if Borderlands 3 gets announced. There's subtitles. We've collected all the news and rumors on Borderlands 3's release date, setting, and more. Let's see. They're estimating the release date will be holiday 2018 or fall 2019. Sure, possible. It could be this holiday. It could also be that, but I've seen evidence that they haven't really finished the game or even kind of started the game. So it could be holiday, like Christmas time 2020, fall 21. I mean, you can throw any group of few years around. Whereas Borderlands 3's take place, not Pandora, hopefully, is their response. It's like, the truth is, we already knew it wasn't going to take place completely on Pandora. Next paragraph is, what has Gearbox said about Borderlands 3? Not a lot. And if half of it is from Randy Pitchford, then none of it can be trusted anyways, because his connection to the truth is loose at the best of times. What sort of loot will be in Borderlands 3? A lot more than what. I mean, I'm not actually reading these articles, I'm just answering these questions directly off the top of my head. Like, what sort of loot will be in it? Everything you've seen, plus a lot more. But there will probably be a little bit of an issue, too. At a certain point, there will just be overexhaustion. If there's too much variety, or if the guns don't feel like they're too crazy. It wouldn't be a terrible idea, just off the top of my head, if there was a third type of weapon. We've had guns, we've had grenades, we've had a lot of grenade mods, we've had a lot of guns that have all kinds of variety. And you have your melee attack. So I don't know what a fourth type of weapon is. I was thinking maybe knives. Maybe you put a knife in your melee attack and you try to push more people to use that, since that was a sort of underused element. But I'm not sure that changes too much. And if you get into too much of a passive team building perks or anything like that, that gets too far away from Borderlands to be interesting. What you probably want to do is have something like a drone. Like, everybody gets one drone, and you can do a drone mod, and the drone automatically is targeting and firing on enemies. And that would work really well in Borderlands 3, because Borderlands is never really a hide behind cover, shoot and lock in your sniper shot and shoot game. It's the sniper guy already has his hawk that kind of is like a drone anyways, but if a drone did exist and it was always targeting the closest enemy, and it started shooting after a decent delay of like 2 or 3 seconds, it would bring in more enemies and cause enemies to be aware of your presence and run towards you, speeding up the game even more. That probably would be a good idea. They also need like 4 new classes yet again. That's gonna be kind of hard, or slight variations on the soldier class, the siren class, the berserker class, and what was the sniper class? Yeah, sniper and soldier classes. On top of which, they probably also will want some of those DLC characters like the Necromancer class in there. Other Borderlands details in this article: around 90% of Gearbox is working on Borderlands 3. Okay, I guess that was probably true. They're probably using Unreal Engine 4. I doubt they would be using anything else. And let's see. Mikey Newman, Borderlands 2 lead writer, and Anthony Birch. No, the writer and Scooter voice actor Mikey Newman left Gearbox because I believe he was severely ill, like terminally ill, and he just could not stay working at all. Which inherently, I think his diagnosis probably should have put him on disability from day one, and he kept working for at least a year after that. Anthony Birch is the lead writer of Borderlands 2, also left the studio in 2015 and eventually joined League of Legends Riot Games. And the Claptrap voice actor David Eddings moved on to Rooster Teeth last year. So That's really not a problem. I mean, shoot Claptrap in the face, like at the very first scene of Borderlands 3, and most people would be more than happy with that. We've had enough of Claptrap. Let's just move on. It'd be nice to see Borderlands 3 mature just a little bit. We don't want them to become super serious and lose their touch, but it would be nice if they got away from Claptrap and yeah. I mean, the story kind of has to mature because they made a very specific and kind of weird decision to kill off a character at the end of Borderlands 2, and they really addressed it like it was a real impactful event. So I feel like it would be disingenuous to go back to Borderlands level 1 craziness. Next game we have on Steam is called Russian Prison Sport OCHKO. What will you sacrifice in order to survive? OCHKO. What is this? This is a fake game. Yeah. It's a fake game from a developer who's made a bunch of fake games. Oh yeah. And it seems like you're just playing poker with a prison background. And that's all it is. A one-screen game. And see, the weird thing here is, why do you even put these fake games in English? Why even offer English as a language? When it kind of is obvious that this is a game made by a Russian company for a Russian audience. Although it seems like they added the Russian language later. Like, it really does feel like a level of trolling to make all these bad fake games and specifically put them in English so they specifically get in front of as many people's eyes as possible. Because honestly, I don't think if you're a respectable gamer in Russia who is Russian, I don't think you'd want to play this game either. I think you'd want to play good games. So let's just move on from that. Still not getting anywhere. I'm gonna have to just play a casual game. Kimetsu has an article. Sonic Mania Adventure Part 2 is now available. Sega's released Part 2 of the animated series short Sonic Mania Adventures that apparently you can watch on YouTube. It's only like 3 minutes long. I believe they're making a Sonic Mania 2. Like, I think that's the whole point here, is they're making a Sonic Mania 2 and they're advertising for that. That really doesn't even feel much like a video game news if there's a video game short, but whatever. In a weird move, I guess it's not super weird, because I believe the people who run Techland actually worked on the game Call of Juarez, but Techland has picked up the publishing rights from Ubisoft for Call of Juarez, which means you can buy Call of Juarez now on Steam again, which apparently you couldn't do for a while because you had to buy it through Uplay. Let's see. There is also another game, Call of Juarez the Cartel and Call of Juarez the Gunslinger, which were temporarily delisted about a month ago. So now is probably the right time to buy Call of Juarez if you were ever going to buy it, for two different reasons. One being that you'd be supporting Techland instead of Ubisoft, and two, you'd be getting them on Steam. Next article we have: Intel hires another AMD employee to promote its future discrete graphics cards. Which, not much of a real article there. This PC Gamer article. Like, it seems like Intel has been doing a lot of, it's not even hiring away as much as Intel is working with AMD for mobile laptop integrated graphics cards, and they're hiring employees to help from their company. Intel's hiring AMD employees to help them improve that relationship and get the progress done. In the end, a discrete graphics card is never going to be any competition to an NVIDIA like actual gaming graphics card, or an AMD even ATI graphics card. So it's a completely different target audience. We got another game in Steam called Hazardous Space. It says it's an early access indie gore violent game. Let's see. It's the first game from the developer for $9.99. No discounts lately. I've been noticing. Have not seen any discounts. So this game looks like it is kind of an RPG side-scrolling, kind of like Darkest Dungeon if the graphics were a lot worse and it was set in a space station full of zombies. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting. I don't think it actually has any of the actual intricacies of Darkest Dungeon, though, and it's not a team, it's just one person. It doesn't look like there's really anything here that would interest you or make you want to buy this game, because the graphics are not visually appealing. It just doesn't seem like it works for any other reason. Yeah, all-time peak of 4 people. It came out today. Much like the trend of putting zombies in your game, is still very much the default action of a intellectually unimaginative content creator. I just used that was a very poorly worded sentence. Like, you can't use the exact instance as an example of an instance. Anyways, Hazardous Space. Moving on. Let's burn through these. PC Gamer has an article: how to run Ubuntu Linux inside Windows 10 using the Windows 10 subsystem for Linux. Might be interesting, but it'd probably be a waste of your time. Even the most supported Linux, which would probably be Ubuntu Linux, I don't see any reason why you would run it inside of Windows. The major programs that you would use, like Blender, Audacity, what is it, OpenOffice, or they changed that, they split off and went into LibreOffice, and yeah, there's a split there. None of those software need to be on Linux. You can just install the Windows version and it will run just fine. So unless you just want to play with Linux without installing it on a thumb drive, which might be something you might try, but I mean, or I could see though if you're an IT administrator and you're constantly needing to go to Linux to try something out, or just very familiar with doing things via Linux and not very familiar with doing it through Windows, the jumping around and the rebooting might be an issue. But that's kind of all I'd say is you'd have to be a Linux administrator. You'd have to be some kind of IT guy to decide that was the right way to do it. Moving on, The Forest is officially out today. It's rated very positive, 92% of 1,979 user reviews. The Forest should sound familiar since it was, at least for a brief time, a open world survival game that was popular on the streaming sites, YouTube and Twitch. I saw a lot of people play it. But inherently, I think it's done now. Like, it's lost its popularity. It's now out of early access for $19.99. I imagine there's no more things going to be added to it. Let's see. Okay, so here's a not recommended review of today, and clearly not recommended reviews in this are such in a minority that you really have to take them with a major grain of salt. So the review goes, very good survivor building game, has been one of my favorites until today. Sadly, the full release has made some bad changes to things that were fun and has not fixed what is probably the most annoying part of the game, the inventory. Look at the images for the inventory and you immediately see what I mean. The full release added new items to the inventory as well as making it even more cluttered. It is especially intimidating to new players who are used to proper uncluttered systems used by most games. Night is so dark I have to play with the lights off in the dark room to see very well regardless of the color scheme I'm using. It was already pretty dark and they just darkened it more. And if you don't have blackout curtains, I wouldn't play this game during the day. Although it was a great game, I would strongly suggest waiting at least a couple months to see if the devs fix the issues at hand first. This does have one screenshot that I'm looking at that is really, really dark. Not every screenshot is set in nighttime, though most of them are set in daytime, so you don't run into that issue. And let's see, is there even a screenshot with the inventory open? Like, if there was a screenshot with the inventory open, it's gone now. Like, there's another dark screenshot. So 3 out of the screenshot, 3 out of about 15 screenshots are really, really dark. And the problem I have with any of these games is they are systems, and that is it. They are just systems of survival, of saving money, of fighting these monstrous creatures that are not quite zombies, going into caves and finding bodies of people that they're cannibalizing, I assume. Like, the Forest, in a weird way, kind of has room and opportunity for a story, but it just doesn't do it. And I don't know how you fix this. Do you, in early access, just have people running around in an open world doing whatever they want? And then do you limit that open world to a mode and then put a storyline single player experience when you release it for real. I mean, maybe you could get away with that. Maybe that would work fine. For instance, if I was playing The Witcher 3 in early access and all I was doing was running around attacking people, and you just couldn't talk to any of the NPC characters at all. They just was like future dialogue here, future mission here, future quest here. And so you were just running around attacking enemies on the map. That would be a pretty boring experience. And you don't need the crafting part. You don't need the inventory management part to make a single player experience. And I would much prefer a game like The Forest to have a single player experience and tell me a story. Because I'm mostly focused around story. So, like, if there is none, then I have to make my own fun. And as a critic, making your own fun is not super helpful, I guess is the best way to say that, because either I'm going to think of something that I'm personally in love and nobody else is going to care about or like, or I'm going to not be able to think of anything anyways. Next game we have is a game called Third Mage that I believe is free to play, so you can't really beat the price. It's a free to play action magic multiplayer. They say it's a third person arena spellslinger game where you defeat your opponents using a variety of spells and throwing them into the hazards present in each map. And it looks alright, honestly. I mean, this could easily just be asset flips, because there isn't too much of it here. Let's see. Looks like maybe all the characters play as the exact same mage character. It looks like the worlds are very empty sections. There are some intriguing ways in which they're making big square platforms to make the fights different. Problem though is it's free to play and it's multiplayer, so you're never going to have enough audience. It has an all-time peak of 5 people when it came out today, and nobody's talking about it. It's the only game from this developer, and any kind of free to play game cannot survive on the efforts of a new person. It's got to be somebody who's been in the industry for a very long time and has proven themselves. Next game we have is called Magic Masks. It says it's an adventure casual puzzle game. Came out today. Looks like it is a box pushing game of some sort, but it looks very well animated. Like, somebody really put some effort into this one. And it's 10% off for $6.29. And it is just a box pushing game. So the Magic Masks element seems to be added on. But I can't ignore this one. When I see such a high level of polish on a game, it makes me assume, probably incorrectly, that I am going to get a more polished box pushing experience, which is kind of silly, but let's see. 7. Let's see if we can win. So I've got a wish list Magic Masks. It just looks too good. Even if it is a boring style of game, it's way too polished. Next game we have on Steam is called Infinite Sunshine Dust. It's, let's see, it says it's an adventure game. Let's see. Infinite Sunshine Dust, ISD, is a psychological horror adventure game. 4 prisoners wander a virtual world for insane experiment, and they get involved in many strange things. So the thing here is you could probably mistake this game for an RPG Maker game, because it's got kind of a 16-bit animation style to it. But I don't think it really is. I think it's just stylized in a weird way. And there's some definite levels of insanity here. Just abstract craziness that is kind of right up my alley as far as games. It's so weird. It does have a third-party EULA, which I hate that. It's early access, and it's $11.99, which is probably way too expensive there. And there's no reviews, but this is a game that's going to make it to my wish list, which I guess now my wish list is the list of games I'm willing to come back and check on. Oddly, with a game like this, you would think it was some kind of Asian horror game. If it is, it's being released in a very weird way because it's only in English. And this is a first time publisher, so that makes it a little bit iffy too, but we kind of have to go forward from this point. And we'll have to see if anybody ever else plays it. Gematsu has an article, Sorcery Saga Curse of the Great Curry God is coming to PC 2018. Ghostlighting Interactive is porting this PS Vita dungeon crawler. Being a dungeon crawler, I'm pretty sure I don't care about playing any virtual like dungeon crawler games from a PS Vita port. There's nothing really wrong with this game, but I bet there's nothing super interesting in it. Generally, there are just some types of games that people aren't going to spend their effort on it, and the creators of the games are going to put enough effort into it, and thus it's going to be a bad product just because of it. For instance, if somebody says I'm making a Flappy Bird clone, you can pretty much immediately dismiss it. Like, if somebody does happen to make a Flappy Bird clone that is way above the normal level of quality you would come to expect from that, don't worry, it'll get out there and people will start talking about it. Gematsu has another article, Dragon's Crown Pro has a 4K comparison trailer, and it's an interesting comparison here because they have a picture on the left that says HD, and then they have a picture on the right that says 4K, and the picture on the left is an archer elf lady, I would say, in a green cloak and green clothing, and the picture on the 4K side is the exact same lady, but now she's in a purple coat. She's wearing a dark black clothes under the cloak. Her hair is white instead of blonde. Her arrows are maybe different. Her boots are black instead of brown. It's the exact same things, but it's animated differently completely. So how in the world are you supposed to be able to have a legitimate comparison when you're not looking at the same picture or anything even similar enough? To be fair, the 4K version does look sharper, as best as I can tell. It looks like it has more shading. Looks like the girl has more tan, but that's no way to do a 4K comparison in stills. Let's see if maybe the trailer looks better. Dragon's Crown, I don't believe is coming to PC. There must have been a lot of people who liked it on PlayStation or Vita or something, because, and I could kind of see why. It does have its own little unique style, but I still don't think it's coming to PC, so I'm never going to get to play it until it does. And when it does come to PC, I suppose it will be it would look really nice, but again, only if it did come out. Excuse me, I'm yawning a little bit. I stayed up all last night watching the 3%. It's not called the 3%, it's just called 3% on Netflix, which is this weird Netflix original Portuguese show based around a really rich society putting a incredibly poor society through this thing called the process when they turn 20, and 3% of people who pass the process get to live with the really rich society. And it's an interesting dramatic thriller series. I would heavily recommend with the second season, which is what I watched last night, all the season in a row. I'd heavily recommend take a weekend to watch the entire series, including season 1 and season 2 back to back, because it's very character driven, and the characters can be a little lost if you take big breaks between your seasons. I imagine if they do decide to make a third season, which I'm not 100% sure they will, they could, but I'm not sure they will. If they come out with the third season and you're hearing this, I would say watch the entire series in a row. It's not probably as bad of an issue as I would say don't even watch a series until you're like 5 years after the last episode of the last season airs, to ensure that you see it all in a row. But it would be slightly helpful to watch as much of it in a row as possible. Lemon Lover's on the chat saying what's up. Hi Lemon Lover. Let's play this. What's up right now is I am banging my head against a wall to get one freaking mage victory, playing casual. Maybe I need to play wild. Maybe that would somehow make it better. Here's an interesting game on Steam. It's called Hanse, Hanse, the Hanseatic League. It is rated mostly negative, with 25% of 15 users rating it positive, and it came out April 30th, and it's a strategy simulation trading game. So, the question I want to ask myself is, why is this game so poorly rated? And if it's brand new, maybe it was in early access and it's just coming out now. It's $19.99. So let's look at the mostly negative reviews. 12 negative reviews, 4 positive reviews, and none of them are in my language. They're German, 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 German. 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 So, what is this game done that it's irritated? Every single negative review here is from a German person. The positive review is also German. Positive review is German. And the positive review is German. Is this game even in English? It's English and German. So maybe the translation is really poor? Or... maybe this person, Hanze, is actually known in Germany and hated as a character. Maybe something else. I have no idea. The only other game that they've had made, this developer, is also rated very negatively, 31%. So these, I assume this has to just be an awful game. The publisher, on the other hand, is odd because it's a Symbol Entertainment, the publisher of like Leisure Suit Larry series and several other games, Pizza Connection. I wish they would translate the reviews, because that's the thing that would really catch my attention, is if I could know why Germans for the most part hate that game, because it doesn't look that bad. I've seen a lot worse games rated a lot higher. We've got somebody new on the chat called Lord War Hayes. I'm working on a card game right now. Oh, I thought that was Lemon Lover that said sup, but I guess it was Lord War Hayes. Apologies. I misread your name. So, when you say you're working on a card game, do you mean you're developing a video game? Developing a real-world card game? Or you're simply playing a real-world or virtual video game? Because I can, right off the top, say, if you're working on a real-world card game as far as making one, or working on a card game for a video game, if it is a collectible card game, you're probably not going to succeed unless you've got billions of dollars of a team behind you. I suppose if you were to make a deck building game where you had a full set of cards like the game Munchkin and so many other games, you can do that and you can get a moderate amount of success, particularly if you can get the right people to like and play your game and promote it or license it. Let's see. I've lost again. Well, I think it's time to move over to the European account. So we're not making any progress here. Tragic Master said no lemons were hard in the making of the stream. Yeah, funny. Tragic. The thing about collectible card games is basically they're, in my mind at least, on the same edge as same level as board games, which is to say nobody really plays that many board games unless you're an obsessive group of board game fans, and there's just not as big of a market. You're also making a physical product that you have to sell, which 90% of your profit will get eaten up in shipping and handling then. If you are making a board game, getting it in as DLC with Tabletop Simulator might be an interesting move to make some money without having to do any of the actual production work. Alright, well, it's been about 50 minutes, and maybe we'll do a silent post show, maybe we won't. I'm gonna lean towards probably we won't, and I'll probably just play off screen and struggle with this. But it's time to do something different, so we'll switch over to the European account. That's it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. When you subscribe, please click that notification bell. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, gift me a game on Steam. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.